Okay. Of course, I'm the Executive Director of the New Mexico Manufactured Housing Association. We have several participants online for, I believe, our very first webinar. So everyone be patient with us. I see that there's we had a lot more RSVPs. People are busy and maybe they're going in a little bit later. Quite frankly, because it's our first webinar, I'm glad there's not 97 people on the line. We've practiced this and feel it's going to go fairly smoothly. Nonetheless, it is our first webinar. Also, I'm not discouraged by the number of participants on the line, as one of the things that we have worked on and that the Manufactured Housing Division has been very accommodating with is that this is just the third phase of 3 phases that we've been utilizing to bring some sort of training, information, or education to our members. One of the most important ones is a pre-developed training link that MHD has had posted on their website, and the Manufactured Housing Association has had posted on their website also. We've been monitoring the usage of that link on our website, and several members have already been on there utilizing that link. And the same is for the Manufactured Housing Division link also. So all in all, with everything we've been doing, I know we're capturing dozens and dozens of our members with being the completion of formal training, if you will. So hopefully, and we want to continue to use the webinars. Hopefully we won't have any technical difficulties, but there's technical difficulties all the time with IT and things like that. Anything that would occur, if you would just let us know. Also, if you wouldn't mind separately calling the NMMHA offices at 505-830-3764 or sending them an email or anything like that to sort of address any issues offline that you're having from an IT perspective, or access perspective. If you could go ahead and do that, that would be great. And then I'll shortly turn this over to Amanda. That is to just from our perspective, describe what Accela is and what it is not at this point. Still someone, I don't know if you can hear me, but you're having a conversation with someone else, but we can hear you. If you can go on mute or understand that we can hear you, we'd appreciate that. And here's what it is. Accela is a new permitting software application system that is being utilized and is going to go live this coming Monday, and the 26th. And this new permitting system replaces the old Kiva permitting system. What it is in this initial phase, and it's very important to understand, there will be other rollout phases of Accela, but initially Accela, at least to us, is a permitting system that will apply to any permits that not involve any sort of plan review. Any sort of conversion permit or any permanent foundation permit or anything that requires a plan review, Accela is ready to be your permitting system yet. You're still going to utilize every other old process that you've used in the past when any of those conditions occur. Actually, Accela in Phase 2 and Phase 3 will be your permitting system for conversions, permanent foundations, etc., but not now. what Accela is to MHD and CID internally now is and it's very important, with the Kiva permitting system, they were able to handle deposits, handle refunds, do a lot of internal things that are affecting their cash balances, reconciliation, and things like that. So while the Accela permitting system is very important and functional to us at this phase, from a back-end perspective, it is hugely important to the manufactured housing division and construction industry division based on huge issues they were having with the old permitting system. It won't take long for us to then get into phase 2 and phase 3 of Accela that will eventually encompass all our permitting needs. But for now, phase 1 is anything that doesn't have to do with the plan review. Don't off if you don't think that applies to you, because this is a good training session to become familiar with the system, because in short order, all our permitting is going to utilize this system. I just want to thank the Manufactured Housing Division. They have worked with us so closely on this on a number of different things. As many of you know, we successfully rolled out, with the help of Candy Cochran and others, a new permitting system at the Motor Transportation Division for our oversized overweight loads. That worked because we were so interactive with them, and then interactive within our members in regard to what we were learning from them, so that we had that smooth rollout. We learned a lot from that, and we're utilizing it now to really have as smooth a rollout as possible with the Accela system. That not have been possible if not for the division director, Pat McMurray, and the administrator, Jesus Carrasco, the MAD staff, and Sam Salceda, Michael Unthank, the regulation licensing cabinet secretary, has been sure we've worked with all of them. And then I'd like to especially thank Chris Valletta with the IT department at HD and CID, and now in this transition, the person who will present the webinar this morning, especially Amanda Urioste, who's going to conduct today's training session, who's been so helpful and so important in understanding the system, but being able to convey to us how it's going to work, and now being able to convey to you how it's going to work. So with that, thank you, Amanda, and I'll turn it over to you.
So I want to make sure, again, I know you guys are all on mute, but if anybody can't see my screen, what you should be seeing is you should see RLD in the upper corner, a word that says test, and it should look like a login screen. If anybody can't see that, if you'll unmute your phone and let me know, that way we get everybody on the same page, and if everybody's good, we'll start the webinar.
Okay, one note, Amanda, I forgot one thing, and that is everyone, the chat thing, we're not going to use that to get questions over to Amanda. What she's going to do is save just a little bit of time at the end, and then take 3, 4, 5 questions or so, and then in her experience, those 3 or 4 questions usually encompass 80–90% of everyone's questions, and so we're going to take some time at the end to have a Q&A session for anyone that might have a succinct, clear question for Amanda. And so in future we'll use the chat, but for now we're going to save our questions if you can jot them down. Okay, thank you, Amanda.
Okay. If everybody can see my screen, what you'll see here is the login screen. We're going to briefly walk through this morning how you're going to register for a new account. Since this is a new system, everybody will be registering for a new online account. We're going to do that first, and then we'll actually walk through how you'll pull your permit online. I'm not sure if this pertains to everybody in the group or just the majority, but most users for the online account are going to have multiple licenses. So we're walking through creating a new account. I know in the current system you have to have a separate account if you have a manufactured housing license and a separate account if you have a construction industries license. Now you'll be able to put all those licenses in one account. So it should simplify things immensely if you have multiple licenses. On this particular page, when you go to register for a new account, you have a couple of options. You can click register now or click register for an account. The exact same thing, whichever button works better for you. You'll click register for account. And what you should see is the account registration. You'll need to read the general disclaimer, accept the terms and conditions, and click continue registration. The step is selecting the first license that you want to tie to the account. The initial license that you tie to this account, if you have multiple, it's just not going to matter which one you tie in first. You'll have the ability to add or delete licenses at any time after the initial registration. What you do want to make sure of is you pick a license that is current and in good standing, meaning it's not expired, it's valid, everything is good. You'll have an entire list of licenses that you'll need to choose from. For purposes, I have just a tell me license with no real information, and we're going to tie that one to this particular account, and you select find license. You will need to put in the license type and the license number. Okay, when you click find license, it should pull back the information with the license number, the license type, the name on the license, and you will need to, if this is all correct, you'll need to click connect. If it's not correct, you'll click search again. But we'll go connect this particular license to account, and I do want to associate this license with my account, so we'll click OK. This is the confirm license screen. What you want to do is you want to make sure all this information is correct. You will have the license type, the license number, the expiration date. If it's for some reason at this point not correct, you'll click remove. Additional licenses that you'd like to add, you'll click on the add to my licenses. You can add as many licenses that pertain to you or your company. If this is the only license at this point that you want to associate with this account, you'll click continue registration. Enter your login information. So you'll need to select a user ID. It can be anything that's meaningful to you, company name, your name, email address. Email is going to be important. If you ever forget your password, the password reset will send an email to the email on file. So you'll want to make sure that this is a valid email address and that it is typed in correctly. This is all test data. So you'll make the password, and you'll type that in again to make sure that they are the same. The security question will be if you forget your password and you need to call into the office to have that reset. They will ask you the three questions that's associated with your account, and they will verify the answer. So you want to make sure it's something that you remember. And you will have to add a contact to the account. So because they're new accounts, you're going to use the add new option. You will select the type of contact that this is. This can be somebody separate from the licensed professional that you just tied to the account. If it's somebody in the office, any contact will work. You just need to click contact under the type and click continue. And you need to enter first name and last name. Anything with red asterisk is required, and that's why you get the little required box at the top. If there's name of business, you can enter that here. It's not required. You will need to select an address. The optional fields, but they can't hurt to put in if you have multiple phone numbers or email addresses that you want associated with the account. and you'll click continue. So that one contact was added successfully. If you notice anything was mistyped, misspelled, you can click edit. If you realize that this isn't the person that should be added, at this point you can click remove. You have the option to edit any of this information after the registration is complete, and I'll show that when we go to create a new permit. In this case, you can click continue registration, and yours has been successfully registered. 3 form steps, really easy, really self-explanatory. There's videos on the website both for the Manufactured Housing Association and the state manufactured housing website. There's videos and step-by-step instructions. If you have any trouble creating your account, you're welcome to call the office and in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, or Las Cruces, and we can walk you through that. Once your account is successfully registered, it will ask you to log in using the information that you just created. So log in now. Your login page, and you're going to enter the username and password that you created. And you'll click login. This is a screen that you'll see every time you log into your account. This will be where you decide whether you want to apply for a new permit, which is right here, apply for a permit. If you want to go into your account management and update any of your contact information or the licensed professionals that are associated with your account, any of the information you just entered is going to be in this account management page. This is where you edit any information that you have. So it'll be a licensed professional account that you can't change. The only people that will have access to this particular system are going to be licensed professionals with a valid current license. Your information is here. You can edit that at any time. You can add or remove licenses from the account. The information is also where you'll have the ability to edit additional contacts. If you have a prepaid or trust account, this will be the only thing that does not show up at the time of registration. That's because we're moving that information over from the current Kiva system, and you will need to call the office, tell them that you have a trust or a prepaid account and that you'd like it tied to your Citizen Access account. And what they'll do is once this registration is complete, they'll verify all of your information and they'll associate the two accounts together. We don't want to automatically create accounts because you can see it does involve user information, and that needs to be something that's created by you. And we validate that the information that we're adding to this account matches correctly. So in the first few days, if that's something that you have and you'd like to utilize, just give the office a call, and it's in real time, so the minute they tie the two of them together, it will appear in the account management section. Click on Home. That's going to take us back to this main screen where it's tell you who's logged in and ask what you'd like to do today. Do you want to look up property information? This would give the ability to look up an address if you're not sure that it's right or that it's valid. You can use this look up property information link. If you're ready to apply for your permit, you'll click on apply for a permit. It's going to take you to the online application page where it's going to ask you to read and accept the terms of the general disclaimer and continue application. This is something that you'll have to do every time you pull a permit. So you just need to read, accept the terms, click continue application. You will need to select the license that you want to use. Again, if you have multiple licenses, they'll all appear in this drop-down box. You need to select the appropriate license for the type of permit that you want to pull. In this case, we only have the one. Again, it's dummy test information, but in your case, it would show license, professional name, address, and the information associated with that license. You'll click new application and the type of permit that you want to pull. Again, because you have multiple license types and it's all tied to one account, you get all of the options for permitting. So select manufactured housing. And enter information that is required, and it will make sure that it is a valid address. So it's going to check our database. Currently, there's over 900,000 addresses in our database. It's going to validate against that. So if this is a fairly new address and it may not be in the system, this may not be something you can do online. You may have to submit a new address form and do that through the office. For the most part, this shouldn't be an issue. We do a wildcard search. It's sure if it's one word, 2 words, if it's abbreviated, any place in the system you can use a wildcard search of the % sign. And the location you enter, the more selective the search will be. You'll click search, ending up address within the parameters that I've put in. I left mine pretty vague. All I did was put in a street name. You'll select the appropriate address and you select. So it's going to pre-populate all the information that we just selected, including city, state, and zip code. The owner name is going to be the actual owner of this property. And these little question mark bubbles are help bubbles. And so what we've put in here is what we think people ask when they're entering this information. So, for instance, help bubble says, please enter the exact property owner information in this section. If your subcontractor may not have this information, please contact the general contractor to obtain the correct information. In the case, we're going to make this test user's property. You will need to type in their address. It could be different from the address above, so we leave it as a text field for you to fill out. Required fields, so you're going to want to make sure that that is filled in. A phone is also required. Email is not, but if you have it, feel free to enter it. When you have all the information on this page filled out, you can click Continue Application. If at any point you get to a screen and you don't have all the information that's required, but you don't want to start this permit all over, on every screen you're going to have this Save and Resume Later option. You click this option, it's not only going to save this to your account. When you log back in, you'll see it as a saved application, but this will also show up in the back end. So if you happen to be close to an office or you realize that this isn't a permit you want to pull online, you can go to the office and they can pull up this information. They can pick up right where you left off. So if at any point you're not sure, just click Save and Resume Later option so that you have the option to come back in and pick up where you left off. You don't have to start all over again. The alternative contact is going to be an extra person that's going to be added to this permit. So either select that person from the account or you can add a new one. So we're going to select the associated license or the associated contact or add somebody new. That's just going to be your preference. You're going to validate that this is the licensed professional who's pulling this permit and this is the license that you want to use. If it's not, you can edit, remove it, you can continue the application, or you can save and resume later. It is required that you put in a project name and description of work. So this is going to be a print, and it's required that you put in a description of work. The more specific you are, the better. The information that you'll have to enter, this is always going to default to web because that's what you're applying for the permit. The setup type is going to be a setup. The manufacturer is required. That's just be the only manufacturer I know, so that's who I'm going to enter. You will need to enter a serial number or a HUD label number. You don't have to enter both. If you have both, great, you can enter both. Sold by, if you know who the mobile home was sold by, or their dealer license number, that information. You will need to enter the size of the mobile home, the type of home, whether it's a new pre-HUD or a used home, and directions to the location. Sometimes these are in rural areas. A lot of times on the application itself, the contractor installer will put directions to the location. You now have the ability to add that directly here. Our LP gas appliances. You know, if you're not sure, you can save and resume this later. In this case, we're going to select no and continue the application. Payment section can be helpful or passed on if it's not something that's useful to you. You can add any type of attachment, whether that be a map, a picture, Anything that's meaningful to this particular permit can be added by clicking the Add button, and you can add, again, a map, a picture, anything that may be meaningful. If you have attachments that are saved to your account in that account management section, you can select them straight from there. In this case, we're going to go and leave it as is and click Continue Application. This is your review screen where you want to review all the information that's entered. We have the address, the owner, the alternative contact, the licensed professional. You also have the ability to edit any or all of that information. If you see something that doesn't seem correct, again, you can click Save and Resume later. It'll save all the information you've entered, and you can pick up right where you left off. The last thing that you'll need to do before you go in and pay your fees is click the box that you certify all of this information is true and correct, and continue application. The last final screen is going to be your pay fee screen. When you go pay the fees, you're going to verify that this amount is correct. Continue application. Here are your payment options. Because we don't have a prepaid or trust account associated with our test account, the only option you're going to have is to pay with a credit card. You'll have the credit card type, which will be Visa or MasterCard, the card number, the 3-digit security code on the back, the name of the person who appears on the front of the card, as well as the expiration date. If the credit card user is the same as the person that appears in this box, it'll autofill all of the information based on what you've entered previously, and you'll click Submit Payment. Our processor, because we're so close to go live, is getting transitioned over, so I can't actually put in any test credit card information for you this morning. But what it would do, it would take you to record issuance where you could print your permit and your receipt. If we go back to the review screen. So because complete the permit and show you what it was like when it pops up, we'll save and resume later, and hopefully I use it by going back. Here is the temp number that was assigned to the permit that I just started creating. Because it's not an actual permit, this is a temporary number. Again, this number is available to all the office staff, so if you have questions, they can pull up this application and see everything that you've entered, or you can come back and you can resume your application at any time by clicking this link here as Resume Application. Your records are going to be saved under this Permits tab. So completed records, pending records, temporary records, all of your permits for all the licenses that have been pulled under this login will appear here as your records start to grow. Those will probably be grouped by year, so you'll have, as we go forward, I'm sure that there will be lots of permits pulled online, and so those will end up being grouped by year. Of how to create a new online account and to pull a permit online. If Mark have anything to add, I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Okay. Any questions?
I'm good.
Okay. And let me just, I have a couple, and then I'll go ask one more time. On the password, you're creating the account. Is there any parameters to the password, Amanda?
It has to be at least 8 to 12 characters long, and of course, the more secure you make it, the better. It should have at least one upper or lowercase letter, as well as a number.
Okay, very good. And then we have described the system going online this coming Monday, the 26th. Is that still the case? And first thing Monday morning, this is live?
They will be able to go in and create their accounts Monday morning. What we're going to do is we have some Accela representatives coming in. We're going to go over configuration and trust account transfers Monday, and when everybody logs in Tuesday morning, it'll be live. But we are going to take Monday to make sure all configuration is done, all trust accounts have been moved over. So it'll be first thing Tuesday morning.
Oh, and we can notify that it's Tuesday morning. On the add an attachment, which is a great feature, especially when we go to phase 2 and phase 3, we want to put a map of the property or a drawing. How do you attach say a drawing. Is scan it first and then submit it in the system? Okay.
So you'll scan it in using, whatever device you currently use to scan, whether it be a Xerox machine or just a scanner on your desk. Typically, those are going to scan in as PDFs. Sometimes they're pictures, just depending on how it's scanned in, but it's going to upload to the account in the exact same format that you saved it in. What we can do is we can go through these screens because we have all of the information entered already. And the attachment section, you're going to click Add.
Oh,
of course,
perfect.
it's going to show you all of your folders, whether you save that to a folder, your desktop, your pictures, what that is. You're going to browse the file and you're going to click Open, and it's going to put it in there for you.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. Just one final question on my end. One of the things that we had established with Motor Transportation Division is just in the initial phase, we thought they were then going to end it, but it worked well. We had sort of this chat section where we could pose a question almost live, or talk about a concern we had or a problem we're having. I know we can always call into the office, but is there any sort of then chat or question opportunity on the site?
I recommend that the appropriate email addresses to the departments are on the website. If they don't have time to call in or the phones are just busy as we go live, they can send an email. Staff has been trained and they are extremely ready to take any questions that they have. If they can't answer the question, have an escalation process that'll either go to Chris or myself, and we'll get those answered as quickly as we can.
Okay, very good. Okay, any other questions by anyone else?
Yes, Max, I've got a question.
Sure.
Actually, on the landowner section, after you put in the address, you have to put in the landowner. Typically, in a lot of cases, that's going to be different than the homeowner. For the manufactured home, whose name do you want there? The person who owns the home or the person who owns the land?
The owns the manufactured home.
Okay, all right.
Question, Max?
One, maybe you don't know how. Anyway, LP gas. So I'm assuming that if we know we're going to be connecting the home to propane, we need to connect that or click that. Okay, natural gas we do not. We just leave it. We say no. So we know that information when we pull the permit. Okay. If we use the credit card section instead of a prepaid account, is there an additional fee for using a credit card?
That's a great question. I'm glad. No, there is no more additional fees. So you can you don't have to keep your prepaid account. If you want to pay for the permits as you go, there's no additional fees that are going to be tacked on for using a credit card.
Okay, and then I've got a final question. In a lot of cases, our setup company wants us to pull the permit for them. Is there a way to do that from our account, but their license, or would we need to have access to their account to be able to do that?
That's a little tricky. I'm going to send that one to Chris because that's more of a business process question, so I'm going to let him field that one.
Okay.
I think our biggest concern that comes across is what's the liability on that? How do we protect ourselves from you utilizing somebody else's account?
I mean, the SEP guy wants us to pull the permit for him. I need to have access to his account. I guess he could give it to me. I want to know how that needs to go. I mean, I'm licensed also to set them, but we subcontract that out. So I don't know if I could pull the permit, but then have will do the work.
At that point in time, it would have to be a communication between you, him, and ourselves, an understanding with documentation that we would be able to do that and help you create an account under his license. But I think that we would have to have that good communication and the documentation to cover that.
A letter of authority or something.
Cross that bridge when we get there.
Thank you, Max. And can Amanda clarify this for me? On the LP gas, where we mark that there is going to be LP gas, just kind of say a dummy item, but it's just an informational item that then say it'll be LP gas. The system, at least at this point, isn't sending the information to the LP Gas Bureau or anything like that, is it? Is there then a back-end feature of that LP gas, or is it just superficial, really?
Answer that question for you there, Mark.
Okay.
This is Chris. Questioning, it's not that it's a trigger that's going off to the LP Gas Bureau. Questioning, because in the past, we've asked how many units have LP gas out there. I have no way of doing that information, and it comes both from all sides, from all aspects. So the LP Gas Bureau asked that we would include that in all our permits, except the electrical side, of course. But mechanical, plumbing, they all have to answer that question.
Okay. Well, for now, it's not that our members have to have their provider or their licensee or how it's going to work or any of that information available. For now, they're simply answering the question whether or not the home will be connected to LP gas or not.
Right, correct. And even if it's going out there and at this moment it's not getting connected to LP gas, they can select no. And when the LP gas permit gets pulled, select yes.
Very good, very good. Other questions?
Mark, this is Candy. I do have some questions.
Oh, very good. Shoot.
Amanda, thank you. I know you guys put a lot of time into this system. On the election permits, when you guys previewed this in June, there was talk of having so we could order our elections through this system. Is it available yet?
That will not be available. Unfortunately, they in Madden, they're not going to allow that to happen. They want that to all be called in still.
So we're changing. We're still emailing or calling in our inspections.
Correct.
And another thing that had been discussed in June when you all previewed it at convention was that we would be able to upload the permits so all signatures could be seen. Is that feature to be done in attachments, or is that the implementation of what we're trying to achieve with that not in place?
At any point in time, you will be able to attach those, yes.
Okay. My concern with this, if each contractor has his own access, I'm pulling a set permit, and it was that we could see that all contractors had signed off, so we weren't getting instructions sent in and everyone not signed off. If each contractor only has access to the permit that he's pulling, how are we achieving that goal?
You can actually go to the public website, put in your permit number, and you'll be able to attach the document at that point in time. It does not have to be a required login and attach that document.
Okay.
Amanda, are you doing that now,
right?
Amanda?
Requirement?
Yes. So there's a general search. You can either do that from within your account or just from the public website without logging in. There's a search for permits option. If you know the permit number, the permit type, the project name, and that information, you can put it into the general search and it'll search for those permits. You can also have the option to search for your records only. If you think it's under you and you just aren't sure, you can click that box and it'll search the records that you pull under this login. If you're not logged in, then the option wouldn't be available. You would just be doing a general search.
Can I clarify something on that LP? Don't lose track of that. Earlier when we were talking about that in the designation, that part of the why we put that LP in there is because we were having problems with our inspectors do not check LP. Just a side on this mark. We've seen a lot of homes that installers were tagging because the homes did not have a compliant water heater. And LP random inspections. So we discussed that LP on there with Jesus. The reason why is they wanted to track it so the LP division could copies of those. So did I understand you correctly, Chris, that that's just a trigger for monitoring how many? They're not actually monitoring those as far as inspection purposes?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question. That was a discussion that was handled between Jesus Carrasco and Clay Bailey, and I was just asked to make sure I get that question on all my permit types.
Okay, I know it came up in June when we had the pre, so I just want to make sure, there was a health public safety issue there is one of the reasons that prompted, and I think we need to be sure we don't lose sight of that.
And I'm sure
and I'll follow up with Jesus.
Idea.
That's it for my questions. Thank you guys very much. I know you put a lot of hard work into this.
Perfect. Thank you, Andy. Any other questions?
Mark, it's Max again.
Okay.
One more. Is there a provision, or will it be handled any differently for re-inspections?
Yes, a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. The re-inspections at this moment inside the Kiva system, and that's a very good question because it's very important. For manufactured housing, they actually ask you guys a re-inspection permit number. Actually, in the Accela system, it won't be that way anymore. Your re-inspection will get put back on the original permit number that we're pulling. And the numbers floating out there, they'll always refer back to that one original number and assess to that number.
So if we fail an inspection, there's an area that will be notified somewhere in here, or will we have to check on the permit, find out that it failed, and then I guess there's two different kind of failure rates. There's one that requires a reinspection, and there's one that we might be able to solve by sending in a picture of a correction or something along those lines.
The types of corrections, you'll have to have a discussion with Jesus Carrasco and the Manufactured Housing Division and how it will determine what gets speed and what not. Does not. It's my understanding that one failure failed and you'll obtain a permit fee. But yes, when in the Accela system, if the submitter or the applicant is providing us an email address, the results will be emailed to that email address. They are resulted.
I think, Chris, and if you'll think of this on your end, then we'll work with Jesus, and somewhere we might have to merge this information. And say I applied for a permit, got the permit was failed, then the question would be how I then activate the current information to know that I'm now in a re-inspection. And I guess we're still calling or emailing for an inspection. So maybe we're still needing to do that. Well, it sounds like we are. We'll call for a reinspection, and I think the question is then how does that change, or how do I amend, or how that then reflected in the original permit application information I have provided? Do you change it or amend it? Do we change it or amend it? Or is there something outside of the system that is noting that it's a reinspection and there's no change to the original information? I think an aspect where we work with Jesus on that and then coordinate with you. Go ahead.
If I'm not mistaken, when the Accela system has statuses, and when you get documentation and it's here in the office, it'll either be in a submitted status, which means front office is still working on complete application or collecting information to complete the application. If submitting something that requires a plan review, then that will actually say plan review status, which means it's in plan review and we haven't completed our plan reviews yet. Once permit has been issued, it'll go into an issued status, which is for inspections. And once it has failed and being paid and reissued for reinspection, the status will say reinspection.
Can you show us where this is at in there, Chris? And then also, auto-generating the permit then? It has to go for
the first
have a
thing.
lag time to wait for the permit, or does it still auto-generate?
The permit is in there for you to print. Unfortunately, since we can't get past the payment screen,
Status would appear here.
Status would appear here, right there where Amanda's pointing. But since I can't get past the payment, they can't issue you a permit, so I can't show you the permit right off that.
Okay, and then, and maybe you just said this and I missed part of that conversation, but and I know your conversation was mainly regarding felt permits, but if you have a passing permit, are we now notified by the inspector? Do we receive an email? Does the permit system send one, or do we have to keep checking the status?
As the submitter and you submitting your email address at time of applicant, that email address for that permit would receive the notification.
Great.
Hey, any other questions?
I don't have a question, Mark, but maybe a suggestion, clarification on the LP gas. All the homes come where the appliances can be either or, LP or natural. You might consider changing that tagline to, will home be connected to LP gas? Burn on this, in on this conversation, they may not know exactly what people are meaning by that. It's false numbers there, because they might say, yeah, every home we have has LP gas appliances.
Oh, maybe Chris, something for you to know.
Okay, I'll see.
Okay. Very good. Any questions? Amanda and Chris and everyone on your end, I know there's many others, but you're the one that put together links and now the webinar and this availability. I think what we'll do is that we understand this is still rollout. The way we've made other rollouts work is to realize that it's sort of the first month after the rollout where if we have good interaction with our members and we facilitate their issues and their questions coming to you, our objective is not to have a perfect system at the end of 30 days. Our objective is to work with you to have a really good working system 2-3 months into the rollout. If we can hasten that time, even better, but we understand how this will go. So work on our end on that with interfacing with our members. For now, this wonderful, great start, and so I'd like to thank you very much for what you've done to help us with this great start. And we know that goes towards you having less headaches as you implement and execute. Still, it's been very important to us, so we want to thank you very much. So thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, anyone on your end who's there. And, of course, I previously had already thanked a number of other people. So thank you, members, and thank you, Max, Candy, for the questions. Everyone that has participated, we'll follow up with you. And so we'll sign off now with final thank you to Chris, and thank you very much, Amanda.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.